Steve's News and Opinions, the fickle face of feminism. This is a story from Mail Online. I'll try to put a link down below. Women are fine with sexism as long as it benefits them, says new study. I'm going to read from this. Okay, where do I kind of stand on all this? Well, I'll give you a couple of quick examples. The old way things were, we can't really go back to it. One advantage of it was people knew what to expect. I think this is something that people don't talk about now, whether men are better now or women or what have you, is like opening a door. Women expected it and men expected to do it. Whether it was right or wrong, that should be the way it is or whatever, but it was just, that's the way it is. Now, depending on where you're at, especially like in colleges or different places like that, that may be okay, but then maybe someone that sees it, or female professor may not like that, or it can, even simple things are difficult now because you don't know who it's okay to do this for and who not to, and if you're a guy and you offer to help something, you don't know if she's going to appreciate it or she's going to, I could do it, you know what I mean? It's a problem now. So I mean, you can't go back into the past. That's impossible. And I don't think anybody really wants to, but of course, like any changes, there's maybe a few things that were a little better back then. But anyway, we live in the now. So let's go ahead and read the story. Okay, and what I do is I read these stories and give my opinions, and that's what we do here. All right. While wolf whistling and paying inequalities might rankle, it seems that not all sexist behavior is seen as a bad thing, according to a new study. Benevolent sexism. I like the way they break this down. I wish I'd get a little more into it. Of course, I've already read the story. But you know that there's sexism that's damaging to women. But what about the sexism that actually helps them? I like that they break this down into positive and negative aspects here. Where women are treated as helpless entities in need of protection is seen as a positive light by many, particularly those women with a strong sense of entitlement. That's really what they go for in this story. I'm going to read some of the comments after I read the story that are on this news article too. Like I said, it's from the Daily Mail, which I really like, and I'll put some links down below. Now, there's a lot of, there's that's positive. It's the truth is whereas a woman goes to a guy and asks for help, there's a lot of times where if another guy went to another guy that's a stranger in particular, and that's probably the best example, a lot of times, you don't want to get involved, to be perfectly honest. Or, depending on the person, you know what I mean, where you're much more likely as a guy to help a girl out because you see her as not only less threatening, but also because the biology is just more pleasant to be around. So there you are. Okay, you may see her more as a mother or your sister or something like that, where you just see maybe a guy it's like a lazy brother that needs to do his own thing. All right. The results appeared in a study conducted by researchers at the University of Auckland entitled "The Allure of Sexism." Psychologically, entitlement fosters women's endorsement of behavioral sexism over time. And if it's still there when I read it at the bottom, you'll see at least one good example of exactly what that means. The study was set up to test the ambivalent sexism theory. How often have we heard, like, never? We never heard that before. Which splits discrimination against women into two varieties, hostile and benevolent. I love this study. Like I say, for anybody that's really into this, as far as what's going on with men and women, and there's just more and more stories out because more and more men and women are just kind of not happy with the whole kind of warfare or hostility and everything that's going on right now, is look at stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. Look at stuff on biology. Instead of listening to people's theories, look at how animals actually behave, especially primates, and start seeing how men and women, when you start seeing the differences between them growing up, right, and how they interact. When you start actually looking at things that come out of science, instead of some studies program or whatever, it kind of starts to make sense. And of course, this is only for people who are actually trying to get at the truth. Anybody that just wants to believe in some kind of religion thing, which feminism, in my opinion, is kind of that aspect. It's more a religion than it is science, because they don't talk about a lot of science in that. And well, I'm just gonna say this real quick. The women's movement, in my opinion, is great because it's a part of human rights. People need rights. You don't want to see people held down. But feminism, I think more and more people are seeing that it's not. That isn't what it is. All right, reading on. Hostile types, also known as misogyny, encompass those who see women as second-class citizens, who think women are intellectually inferior to men, as well as other obvious sexist standpoints. Intellectually, in what way? Communication skills. They do tests. Women are much better at communicating. They had something with as far as newscasters and everything. They would have women wearing two. You know how they have like an earpiece, and they have someone in a booth that's talking to them and give them information, tell them what's going on. Women can process two of these things at the same time. Okay, because I mean, the two hemispheres of their brain work together much better than men's do. And so a man, when they do that to him, most men get confused. They can't take more than one type, process one more type of input, whereas women can do two with no problem and disseminate different sounds and everything like that. These are physical differences. Does that make somebody more intelligent than the other? This is where the problems come in. Men and women do different things better. So if you simply, there may be something on average, such as mathematics at the higher end, that some men do better. Well, you kind of get the idea. I mean, is that really sexist? Or if you can prove that that's the way it is, then there it is. It doesn't mean that women can't do math. But anyway, like I said, there's a lot to dig into there. Okay. Benevolent sexism, meanwhile, is a term to describe actions of those men and women who believe females depend on their male partners for everything from money to guidance, and I would say protection as opposed to guidance, and find it difficult to exist independently. The research was designed to test a central part of ambivalent sexism theory that has not been previously examined. Lead researcher Matthew Hammond told online magazine SciPost.org. Okay, and this is something, I'll try to post that on here too. If not, you can simply go to the Mail Online, and there's a link to it. Several paragraphs down below. All right, I'll try to have both those links up there below the story. We want to see whether or not benevolent sexism is attractive to women because of its promises of benefits to individuals under the conditions of being cared for and provided for by a man with an intimate relationship. Now, you tell me any human being that gets a benefit for anything, most people are not going to turn that down. Human nature is to get over on the system, right? It's to find ways to do that. If someone just says, what was it? There was a study a long time ago with the little kids, and they were saying the brown-eyed, blue-eyed study thing that they had set up in the class. And one day they said that the brown-eyed people, and these little kids are better than the blue eyes, and that they can go to the water fountain. They have, it was like a racism thing. And then the next day they changed it to the blue, and they went through the whole thing. Human beings, if you tell women that they're special, and I don't know, don't have to go to war, okay, don't have to get drafted, that's kind of an entitlement. Does it? Why? I mean, you have to start asking yourself why. Why do you get that? Isn't it implied some kind of negativity that you're not as good or something? How many women are out there marching for the right to be drafted? Human beings. And look, if it was flipped the other way and women had to fight, and how many men would be wanting to go? So, yeah. A lot of psychology there, a lot of basic biology stuff. The study, which spoke to 2,700 women and 1,600 men in New Zealand, they found that women with a greater sense of entitlement. This is an interesting angle we got here. In other words, those that feel that they have a right to the best things in life were more likely to agree with statements such as women should be cherished and protected by men. What? So these are women that they're saying feel entitled. Okay, women should be cherished and protected by men. How many men would agree with that and not think that in and of itself is a bad thing? Even though both men and women have these kinds of entitled tendencies to be reward-oriented and status-focused, the cherish, protect attitudes of benevolent sexism seems to take advantage of these qualities in women only, added Hammond. This is an example of how benevolent sexism is an insidious set of ideas which appear to exploit niceness to encourage women to hold more sexist beliefs. Now, they don't give enough examples. That's a real problem. Some of the comments down below actually list some of them, and then there's the manipulated man, which anybody should, man or a woman, should actually take a look at that, even though it's such an old book and it's really dated, but the ideas behind it still hold really. The manipulated man. There's a lot of free stuff on there, and you can get readings of that and everything. Pretty interesting. I would say, regardless of where, before I start reading comments down below, regardless of where you are, whether you're a man, a woman, whether you're feminist or you're not, and I have problems with feminism, but I have problems with feminism because of things I've seen, okay? And there are a lot of women. I would say if somebody was really questioning, they're feminists and they're questioning it, the place to go would actually be other women that were feminists and see why they're not feminists anymore. That'd probably be a much better way to get informed, or it may strengthen you. Or if you're, there's a lot of guys that don't like feminism, and shockingly, a lot of younger women don't see the benefits of it. Also because they're seeing the side of feminism which is controlling on women, and especially it's anti-pornography, women being able to do what they want with their bodies. All of a sudden they're told, well, yeah, you can get abortions and this, but you need to, yeah, you get the idea. It's kind of controlling. Feminists has gotten over women. A lot of younger women don't seem to, from what I hear, just on YouTube from other, a lot of the women are not happy about it. Okay, let me read some of the comments. Ferguson, I would love to get your comments on here and respond to them whenever I get a chance, when I get back on the channel. So that would be pretty nice if you want to put your own comments onto my channel. And if I ever get enough comments, I'll actually make a video on the comments, because I love those kind of videos, make a viewer comment videos. All right, and I'm not even going to name the names of the people on here because these are just kind of crazy made-up names. All right, one person that comments goes, on the other side of the coin, men see it as getting shafted. Another person goes, lots of angry little men on here today, aren't there? And I tell you why that is. It's because they have had their fingers burnt as a result of precisely the sort of unpleasant, entitled, grasping types of women described in this article. These sorts of women couldn't behave that way they did if men didn't allow them to get away with it in the first place. Start thinking with your brains rather than your appendages. I love the choice of that word. Boys, if you go for these types of women in the first place, you've got yourself to blame. Another person puts, most feminists don't want equal rights. They want more rights. Feminists are an embarrassment to women. On the topic of, these are people commenting. Another person comments, on the topic of gender equality and feminism, women want to be treated as equals. We should never have been treated as second-class citizens in the first place. This doesn't, therefore, give males the right to behave in a way that's void of all manners and do so under the thinly veiled guise of equality. If anybody was struggling with the flat tire, this is like the first example out of the manipulated man. You really should take a look at that. It's eye-opening. For example, regardless of gender, age, or race, you would expect a decent human being with the know-how to stop and offer assistance. It's pathetic how it's being warped into gender warfare. In short, of course we want equality, and more to the point, we deserve it. It doesn't mean, therefore, that human beings need to be void of all common courtesies. Get a clue, people. Well, this sounds... Now, there's different ways to look at this, but to be perfectly honest, there's, what's the old expression, to have your cake and eat it too? When you threw out the old system that men and women interacted with each other, which I think even that if you took a vote, most men and women, might be close, don't want to go back to that system, but they don't like where we're at now. Okay? And it sounds like this person wants the benefits of the now, but also the benefits of the past. And they're gone. That's not going to happen. And so while we're in this intermediate stage, before we hopefully find a better way for men and women to get along, there needs to be a lot of things like getting rid of, the marriage laws need to be fixed. Alimony needs to be abolished, and things like that. So there needs to be a lot of there's a lot of work that needs to get before I think that the majority of men and women will be happy with the current situation. Because to be perfectly honest, divorce, anything to do with the law, violence in particular, you see more and more, specifically younger women, but not only, instigate a lot of the violence that's going on. Women are so comfortable a lot of times hitting men, and you start seeing more and more stuff in public, and a lot more of these guys. You've gone to a place where men, a long time ago, I'm 47, felt comfortable, okay, if a woman was to instigate violence, to simply just, okay, if we're going to go violent, then bam, there we are. And that changed, and people said, hey, violence isn't a right that men have to do in the schools and society and everything. He's done a pretty good job on that. Unfortunately, and women's rights had a lot to do with that. Unfortunately, feminism, its aspect of it, got that part, said men shouldn't be doing this and everything. But it started pretty much changing the laws and everything. If you look, at what happens in most domestic disputes are instigated by women, and they had to change the law so that it's the exact. You can research this yourself if you want, but it ends up being like the larger person, the more imposing person is when they hit back or they go, then they're the ones that are charged. So there's a lot of so women, just getting right to it, and look, and we're only talking about a small group of people, but how many men hitting on women does it take to create a problem, and how many women hitting on men does it take to create a problem? Not very many. Most people don't get into this whether they've given the green light to do it or not, but it's just like I say, it doesn't take that many people to create a lot of problems. So those are things that need to be resolved. There are legitimate, and yes, there are still legitimate issues, but what I see of feminism isn't the women's rights. I see that as a separate issue. Okay, and I see feminism, to be perfectly honest, instigates a lot of problems. It makes things a lot worse. It's just my opinion. I'd say a lot of high-end feminists do. The people who are leading the movement, people go in there and out. But like I said, listen to a lot of people who have left feminism. A lot of young women that have left feminism. Okay, here we go. A few more comments here. Men have had thousands of years of domination using brute force. Now the world over they are decrying women's determination to equal the odds with ridicule and contempt. Men have no honest superiority to women that they have earned or they deserve. Well, my own viewpoint, when you get to the biology, is eggs are expensive, sperm is cheap. And men have had to do things in order to be worthy to reproduce. Women that want to reproduce, okay, because women control that, except for rape, which is not accepted, and that's it. And what they've shown, there was some study, I'm not going to link it, but it was something that, and I'm not really sure how they determined this, but they said, according to checking the DNA and everything, about 80% of women in the past, by whatever means they did this, have reproduced, and only about 40% of men actually reproduced. I mean, women control who the next generation will be because they choose the men typically. That's how it works. So, well, then you start to get into other issues of, but anyway, you get the idea. So men, that's also a reason that the men are at, as far as being a genius or really good at things, tend to be, so many of the people, men and women, most of them at the top are men, but also most at the bottom are men. Men tend to be in extremes. That's what evolution has done to men. And well, there's a lot more I want to say on this, but you get the idea. These are things that long before you or I or anybody that watches this came along. This is the biology that's preceded us in the past. So we have to you really have to understand that if we're going to start to create an environment, which we're not in right now, to where men and women can, be happy and pursue their own interest in everything. And a lot of those interests are, let's just be honest, together. Okay. So hopefully we can start getting, we get somewhere where we're in a much better place than we are now. Okay, and some guy replies, why is it that superiority and domination for you? Exactly what domination or superiority have you had to contend with? And then we go with some more comments. I love comments, by the way, and please leave some if you. That'd be awesome. With only 1 foot in a concrete reality. Like I said, I'm not going to read these names because they're just like whatever. You could, but anyway, with only 1 foot. Now, if you make comments on my YouTube videos and I do a comment video, then I will name your name and then go ahead and read it out. Make comments on that. With 1 foot in concrete of reality and selective memory, women simply bridge the gap between men and the imaginative play of children. I guess dealing with them on a day-to-day basis is comparable in some ways to traveling between multiple universes where everything is similar in one but not exactly the same in the other. The kind which theoretical physicists speculate about. Alright, I don't even know what the hell that meant. Okay, it didn't sound good for women, but whatever, I don't know. And then we see another person comments, most people are against prejudice unless they benefit from it, in which case it was won on merit. Yeah, there we go. The whole thing. That's kind of the way people are. So it's hard to break people away from a benefit that they're just given. Okay. They needed a scientific study for this. Men have known this for years. In one breath, women will complain that they are not being treated equally, and then complain that they are not given special allowance because they are women. Another person puts, as a woman, I would like to say I believe in equality and not necessarily feminism. Here we go. Feminism suggests women are a superior gender, but neither gender is superior. I would like my man to protect me, but I also want to protect him. Further, I am financially independent and would never depend on anyone else, man or woman, financially. So I have to say, I am either a rare case or this article is rubbish. Well, here's another woman that's not thrilled with feminism. Like I say, there's a, I see, to be honest, I see feminism more as a part of gay rights than I do human rights for women. I see the women's movement as human rights for women. I see feminism as gay rights. And if you listen to what feminists say, they go, whoa, we're for lesbian rights and transgender and gay rights, and all that's fine. except they should be honest about it. And some of the hatred for heterosexual men, well, a lot of it, you just see it spilling out in a very non-productive way. I just don't go with it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Like I said, I love making these videos. They're fantastic. I really prefer to get people to comment, and then I can start commenting on that kind of stuff. And why do I do these videos? Because I enjoy doing them. And if you enjoy listening to them, awesome. Give me a thumbs up. But the best thing you can do is leave some kind of a comment. And if I get enough of them, I'll make comment videos. That would just be. Viewer comment videos are awesome. Steve's News and Opinion, out.